Welcome to My Morning Cup, a podcast produced by Costa Media Advisors and brought to you by the generous support of the Tennessee Valley Authority. To learn more about TVA's impact on our community, follow TVA on Instagram at TVA and on Twitter X at TVA News. My Morning Cup, where we have interesting conversations with genuine people. I'm Mike Costa, your host. My guest this week is Bruce Weiss. Bruce is the owner of River Street Deli. You may know him as a sandwich artist, but he's really a visual artist. Bruce, welcome to My Morning Cup. Before we talk about your start as a courtroom sketch artist, let me ask, what's in your morning cup?
You know, it depends on my mood. I go, there's a little place over here. There's so many coffee houses.
Yeah.
I get if my druthers is to get like a cappuccino. But in the deli, I've got fresh ground beans.
Yeah.
We grind it up. We make a pot of coffee. I'm good.
What time you get in there?
About 7:15.
That's not too bad.
No.
Yeah, you've probably been up.
Well, now I get there quite, I was doing those, you're a small business, so they have that BNI stuff. I was hosting 3 breakfasts a week.
That's a bunch.
You think?
Yeah.
I'd have to get there, at like 5:30 in the morning or before to prepare and then work the whole day.
Yeah, that's a long day.
Yeah.
Probably introduce people who hadn't been into the deli.
Yeah. It's
had been
all
there before.
interaction, and that's all about that passion we spoke about.
Well,
what you do.
I want to get to your passion because I did not know that you're originally an artist. So I want to start at the beginning. You're born in the Bronx.
Yeah.
So you're a New Yorker.
Well,
through and through.
I'm 46 years in New York. 30 years here.
You're almost a Tennessean.
I don't know.
I think you're more of a Tennessean than a New Yorker.
But the accent's not leaving.
No, it's not, and it's a great accent.
It's just what it is,
particularly for a guy who has a New York deli.
It helps.
Yeah,
and I'm not putting it on. It's
no, not at all. But born in the Bronx, but you moved away all the way to Queens.
Well, all the way. It's not that far. Cross over one bridge, you're there.
Yeah.
Well, I had this great upbringing. In the Bronx, my grandparents were all from Eastern Europe. So in this one walk-up, 5-story walk-up, which was a fairly large building with 2 sides of it, I had 2 sets of grandparents. I had aunts, uncles, cousins, all living in the same building, with a grandmother from Russia that didn't speak English that had a grocery store down the street.
Wow.
So, that's really living in the Bronx in those years. It was like you grew up in the street.
Yeah.
It was fun when you played ball there, except for going to school. You'd be out with all the guys playing all kinds of street games.
So you play stickball in the streets with the broom handle. And
curveball, stickball, handball, all that stuff. Street sport.
So when you say a 5-story walk up, for people who don't know, it's a 5-story building with how many apartments in it? Maybe 10?
No, in this case, there were more. In the whole building, about 30.
But your extended family all lived in the building.
They lived in different apartments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How neat. So your grandparents were right there?
Yeah, you couldn't do anything without somebody knowing where you were.
Yeah, someone always had an eye on you, huh?
It was really... I wouldn't trade it in. Yeah. It's like there was always family around, and their friends galore outside. So it was a really neat place to grow up. Trick-or-treating on Halloween. So we always, and then it was years ago, it was seasons. Oh, it's pea shooter season. We used to make linoleum guns. It was you'd get a wooden crate. Right, then with rubber bands, you take it, you make it like a pistol, and put a rubber band on the front with an alligator or a clothespin. On the other side, you pull it back, you hold it, you put a piece of old linoleum in it, like a little square, and you would they would fly, it'd spin like a frisbee.
So you had not only
played
family
ball all day long.
and your group of friends, and you guys were just out in the streets all day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can do homework.
Yeah.
Take your homework and then go out.
When did you realize that you had a love of art?
Let me tell you, I was a little kid. I actually have an oil painting I did of my father when I was about, I don't know if I was more than 8 or 9 years old.
You still have it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what happened, they used to buy me. They knew I always was fiddling around, drawing and stuff. So they would buy me those Venus Paradise. You remember that?
No.
They used to have, it was a paint by number.
Oh, the paint by numbers, yeah.
Yeah, you'd get, and they would give you oil paints you would get. And I hated it. So I used to use the canvas that came with it and just paint
your
over
own thing.
Yeah.
So you painted outside the numbers.
I did from the get-go.
You've always been an outside the numbers guy, I imagine.
You know, it just, it was just right.
Yeah.
But that was the deep passion. And of course, the other passion was when you have a lot of European, Ellis Island and coming here.
Because you were probably first generation American?
Second. My mother and father were first.
Okay.
And cooking would go on.
Yeah, I bet.
Holidays. And the grandmothers knew to cook.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there was one grandmother I had, being Jewish, they used to make, during a holiday, they would make a gefilte fish. Everybody's heard of it, but it's almost like a fish ball, and it's boiled instead of, and you acquire a taste for it. But anyway, I used to sit in the kitchen watching my grandmother using a hand grinder. She would put the different fish in and all, and whatever else she put in it. And she had her back towards me. My grandmothers were characters, but this particular one, all of a sudden she turned around. She had the fish head in her hand with a finger going through the mouth, and she chased me around the house. And it was funny,
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my God. When I was really small, a food memory also, right? Because food is like the basis of celebration, sorrow, everything. Happiness. So anyway, on Friday nights, they used to do Friday night dinner. That was the big Jewish dinner as opposed to Sunday. So I'd be sitting there, and it was at my grandmother's house, which was on the 5th floor, and we were on the 3rd floor. And they had this little tiny lounge kind of chair. It didn't go up, but it was like a padded chair.
Yeah.
And I would sit there looking at a 12-inch, 10-inch Dumont television, right? Howdy Doody and stuff like that. And
Super Sales Show.
That was later.
Yeah.
I loved it. That was more adult. She would come over and put a wooden bowl and give me a metaluna, which is a knife that's shaped like a half moon. Mm-hmm. And she would take the chicken livers that had been cooked, put it in there. My job was to chop it. Then she'd come by and put caramelized onion in it. I'm still chopping. She'd come by and put eggs in it. I'm still chopping. And that was my job on a Friday night. It was funny. And then 50 years later, I'm at the deli, and I was making that dish, except I was doing it with a big food processor because I had to do a lot. And I said, holy crap, it's Friday night. I'm making the same damn thing, except I'm making it in mass.
Shows you how far you've come.
Yeah. And then the artwork, that was always the thing, the go-to underlying thing.
Art was a big part of your growing up. Obviously, if you're doing an oil painting of your dad.
Yeah, I mean, it was strange because there was nobody, that was culturally interested in like taking me to museums and stuff.
Yeah.
It came from me, really not from...
So you didn't get this from your parents, this love of art. It was just something you found an interest in and really took hold of.
It was like I'm sitting there drawing. I mean, that became... Yeah, and then it never ended. I still have that urge.
So as you were growing up, how did you take that and start to look at that as a career?
I regret that I didn't go, and maybe I wasn't I didn't go to an art high school like music and art and design, which would have probably pushed me into that art field earlier, but I didn't do it. And went to regular high school. College comes. I got so bored. I mean, it was, for me, even the college, I took an oceanography class because I did an imitation of Jacques Cousteau. Really didn't work out at all, but, you know, it was my...
That was a good reason to take
But then I went to the School of Visual Arts and I found home.
Yeah.
At last, I found what my calling was.
Was that a bit of a trial and error thing for you? I'm going to try this, see if that lights my fire, or did
Well,
you?
I just went because it seemed, I don't know, easy or whatever.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. And
Natural, maybe.
My mind doesn't have a natural inclination for that kind of academia.
Yeah.
And then when I went to School of Visual Arts, which if you're going to go in, you know, you might as well go to the best. My teachers were working artists.
Oh.
I fell in love with what I was doing, and I got really proficient. You know, if you love something and you have the passion, you can't lose if you're writing or whatever it might be. And that school, being with a lot of other people with that same focus, the love of, in this case, art. And I'll never forget, I had a teacher by the name of Al Loving. This guy was showing in some major galleries in New York. And I got in an elevator with him, and he says to me, "Look around." He said, "You see all those kids?" He goes, "Most of them won't be here in a couple of years." And sure enough, the dropout rate was huge because they start to see people that have that passion already. Mm-hmm. And it comes out in the work that they're doing. And then it's like they realize they're in the wrong place. But they tried.
Yeah.
And
everyone's got to discover that. Yeah.
Exactly. You have to you know, and if it's not right, you got to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
It's not right.
Did you have the support from your parents to pursue that, or did they look and go, "Art? What are you going to do with art?"
My father was a truck driver.
Yeah.
Worked a lot of hours. And I was getting pretty frustrated with all of these different, you know, going to this college or that one, Queensborough, Queens College. Wasn't for me. So my father knew that I was kind of something. He wasn't a really great communicator, but I woke up one morning and on the refrigerator was a note. He said, "I want you to go to that school. I don't want you to grow up like me."
Wow.
Yeah. And then the next day I got the thing that I was accepted.
Wow.
You know, because there was, you had to go through an interviewing process to get into that school. And I'm so glad I did.
So what did that mean to you that he made that step? I mean,
that was like, it's not like I waited for an approval, but his faith in me and him saying that to me.
It had to make all the difference.
Yeah, I went right at it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was the greatest experience for me. It was the heyday. It wasn't even accredited in those years. You got a certificate. But see, that's when the artists that were coming out of there were, you know, top guys. I had an experience. I became, with the courtroom stuff.
Yeah. I
was telling you that. I'm going to relate to about the time of Watergate. And I was working, doing picture framing in an art supply store. Some artist that was one of the prominent artists down there was bringing his work in to be framed.
A courtroom artist?
Oh, yeah. But I look at it and I go, I could do this. You know, most of the artists that were at the court were older, but I can do this. So every day after work, I go to downtown to Manhattan with a sketchbook and go to night court.
On your own, no one's paying you to do this.
Oh, you got to put a portfolio together.
Yeah.
So then if night court, daytime, I get any time off from work, I go to Queens County Court. And, it's where they had some big cases. And I would sit there and draw. You could bring anything. At those years, the only thing you could draw in court, you couldn't read anything but a law book. There were no cameras. That was prior to that. Mm-hmm. And I would sit there practicing to put together a portfolio.
Did anyone ever ask you, what are you doing? Like, it's someone in the court?
No, they know what I'm doing. I'm sitting there, I got the book open, I'm drawing. Yeah.
But they didn't care you were on your own and weren't part of a news organization?
No, not necessary.
Yeah.
A lot of people, in fact, even here, you see retirees, they go down to court, they want to just sit and listen to the, cases as they go. So anyway, I finally get the portfolio together. And luckily I was working at an art supply store, was able to order a really neat portfolio, like a giant attaché case. And I get on a train at about 4:30 in the morning. Long Island Railroad, there was a stop near me. And took the train to Penn Station, got on Amtrak, went to Washington, D.C.
And was your intention to get a job in D.C. as a courtroom artist? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I went there with the book.
Yeah.
And so you have to have that, chutzpah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? My uncle used to say, chutzpah, he described it as, you kill your mother and father, you plead leniency to the court because you're an orphan.
That's chutzpah.
So anyway, I get back, after showing, I get in a cab, I call up the Washington Post. They look at the book, and he says, hey, I like what you got. Sends me to another place. And I went to another prior to CNN, and there was another company called TVN. They did syndicated video to all along anywhere, but all that stuff was based basically in Washington.
Yeah, they'd send out a video of the news of the day, and stations would subscribe to it.
Exactly. Overnight it.
Yeah.
They didn't have the technical ability like we have today. Anyway, I get back to New York, get a phone call. You need to get down here. We need you to cover a case. So I didn't have enough money. It was like, I forgot what the course was, but Eastern Airlines had a direct flight, Washington, New York, LaGuardia.
Yeah, the DC shuttle.
So I called them up. I said, look, I could be down here tomorrow. Can you send me some money? Western Union.
Yeah.
So I'm walking and pacing outside a Western Union office. It was like, to me, it was like a Clark Gable thing. He's like, he's waiting to get some money. I get the money. I get on the plane, fly to Washington, and I covered the Marvin Mandel was the governor of Maryland who gotten busted. And I covered that case. A couple of days working there. It was great. I mean, I'm this kid.
Yeah.
And then they call me back and I do strip mining debate in the Senate.
Because they had no cameras in the Senate.
No, you're not even allowed to draw in the gallery. All you could do is look, see what's going on, and take notes.
Really?
Yes. So the other courtroom artists, they don't tell you anything. In other words, there's tricks and things that you do.
Pretty competitive.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
So what you had to do is call the pages of whoever's speaking, and they brought you all the photographs, right? And you got to do all the drawings in the press room. And it was like in the movies, all the telephones lined up. But I did that strip mining debate. And then I get back to New York, and it's like, it's a little dry as far as getting more work. But I put the name out there, and I got a phone call from a buddy of mine who I went to school with, was working for Walter Cronkite.
That's big.
So he says to me, my friend says, come here and bring your book. I showed a book to the art director of the Cronkite show, and he says to me, all right, go to the third door on the left, and there's a guy in there named Billy Sunshine. Show me your book. This guy is the art director of the 60 Minute show. So I open up my portfolio, and he's looking at it. He says, hold on a second. Let me call Mike. I don't know Mike.
Yeah.
Mike Wallace walks in.
Wow.
He looks at my portfolio. He said, let's go with this kid. Never forget. And I was supposed to go to Jamaica. My whole life would have been different.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go to Jamaica and cover a court case with CBS and would have put the drawings up almost in an animated, like they can do. But it was violence.
Very unstable country at that time.
It was, yeah. So they called off the segment. But they tried to get me to sign with CBS News, but I couldn't do freelance with anybody else.
Yeah, that would have tied your hands.
Yeah, but it was a great experience.
Well, that's pretty neat.
Then I got into the garments.
Yeah. So how'd you get into the garment business?
Well, I needed money.
Yeah, well, that's a good start.
It was my uncle saying, hook me up. So he brings me in, and it was a children's, like a boy's infant, toddler jeans. So here's the training I got. They gave me this book, and they checked off all the buyers that I was able to call upon. And they gave me a suitcase full of these jeans with prices. And I had to go to like large corporate store, Bradley stores.
So you're out selling the product.
Yeah, walking through the streets of Manhattan with a suitcase with wheels on it.
Suitcase full of little boys' jeans.
Little boys' jeans. But it was funny. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you get your ass beat. These guys are like, they look at you, you're a kid, and they do that.
They eat you up.
Well, they want to intimidate the hell out of you, especially a young sales guy.
Yeah.
But you stick with it. It was,
I
was paying rent, taught me a tremendous amount. How do you learn to sell?
Get thrown to the lions.
Yeah, exactly. They throw you right into it.
Yeah. How long were you in the garment business?
I think I had 25 years experience by the time I was done. And that's with when we opened up our own business of just doing graphic design. Mm-hmm. That was for about 9 years.
So when did you open that business?
Well, I met this guy. We were both working for this one company. And he looks at me. He was a Sicilian guy from Long Island. Great guy.
Could have been my dad. We lived in Long Island.
Red-headed Sicilian, and he'd look at me and he'd go, Weiss. We never called each other by our first name. He was Gallo. And he goes, Weiss, let's make money for us, not these other guys. So I said, you got it. So I opened up in my apartment in Queens. That became our studio.
Yeah.
I threw out the furniture. I put in drawing tables. We hired 2 guys.
And this is before computer-aided drawing.
No computers. Computers were huge rooms.
Yeah.
And, everything done by hand. But he was a really sharp guy and red hair, fierce eyes. He looked like Kirk Douglas playing Vincent van Gogh. That kind of look.
Yeah.
He's a very intimidating guy. I mean, we went into a meeting and this guy was running the meeting, said, come on, you guys, come on outside. And we walk in, we're wearing leather coats. I'm wearing a hat, like a beret or something. He goes, look, you can't do this. You can't come in together. It's like, it was too intimidating. So
you're
we
there
decided,
to collect the bill. What it looked like.
It was funny, it was just so, we thought it was actually a great idea because what happened is he ended up running production and I was the outside guy. So it really was
you complemented each other.
Well, yeah, it really worked out well. And we were doing that for about 9 years.
Yeah, that's good.
Here's a quick story. I was into martial arts, Miyamoto Musashi Book of Five Rings, Sun Tzu's, and I use that to when you sell. I mean, that was what it was about.
Particularly Art of War. That's a
Yeah, exactly. And the Musashi, the Seven Rings, a Book of Five Rings.
Five Rings.
It's unbelievable. So we needed some money. We had to both pay our home rent and rent for the deli and make payroll. And we were stuck. So I go, Gallo says, Weiss, we got to do something. So I make a phone call to a company out in Columbus, a boys' wear company. And I said to them, would you entertain an idea? He goes, Bruce, we know your work, you guys. Yeah. He says, no guarantees. I said, no, none at all. I get off the phone. I look, Gallo, we got to put a entire program together. So we came up with a name. We came up with all the graphics, everything. The last money we had, I had to use my a credit card, book a flight from LaGuardia. Guy picks me up. He says to me, no guarantees. So I knew that. But in my pocket, I had 4 copies of a contract. And you have to make a presentation to his entire staff.
Now, when you said you put together a program, what?
We came up with a name for a boys' wear company called Active 8.
Okay.
Active with a big 8.
So you brought them everything, the branding, the graphics.
We brought the branding, we brought the artwork to be put on pants, on tops, on you name it, logo.
So they're the manufacturer and you're pitching them a new line.
That's exactly right. But I had to sell this thing.
Yeah.
So.
And you're selling something that doesn't exist.
Well, it's just in paper in front of you. So anyway, I make the presentation. There was about 12 people in the room, and there was the owner, there was the owner's son, and a sales manager. I finished the thing. They applauded.
How old are you at this time?
I was in the late 20s, I guess.
That's got to make you feel good.
Maybe early 30s, the 30s. Yeah. So they start clapping. So the guy says to me, the CEO, said, let's see what we could do. Come into my office. So I go into his office, and the 3 guys are there. And he goes, we don't have to tell you how much we like this program. He says, how could we hammer out a deal? Now, keep in mind, I needed money for a bunch of rent.
Yeah.
So I take my hand out of my inside jacket pocket. I said, well, this could be a good outline. I had 4 copies. There were 4 people.
Be prepared.
Guy says, you got time for lunch? I go, yeah. So we go out to lunch. I get back. Their lawyers had redid a contract and had a check there for $10,000. They take me back to the airport. I left everything there.
Yeah.
All the art. I get to the airport. Gallo goes, Weiss, how'd you do? I said, it's ankle deep in blood, Gallo. Swords were high. They're so samurai thing.
Yeah.
And chutzpah.
Chutzpah's good.
I couldn't make it up.
How does that chutzpah and the garment industry ultimately get you to Chattanooga? Because I want to talk about how you got the deli started.
Okay. I had a good friend, fairly wealthy guy, passed on. He said to me, he has a friend who has a corporate turnaround team. They're from Atlanta, and would I meet them? So I went down there on Madison Avenue, brought my portfolio with the intention of maybe I could just, give this guy some consulting. I never thought of it further than that.
Mm-hmm.
And looks at the portfolio. They had bought or taken over Signal Knitting Mills.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to go out to Vegas on business, one of those boys' wear shows. And while I was out there, I ran into these guys. And right on the floor of the convention, I'm negotiating I thought for somebody else that they were looking for. I was going to get this guy to run that thing, and it ended up being me. And my partner was headed in a direction south, like Brazil. So I worked out of New York for about a year with them. And then I came down here.
What year was that?
30 years ago.
So 94?
Yes, 95, I think. Deli opened in 98.
Yeah.
That's about right. Anyway, that corporate turnaround team got bought out by another one. And they didn't know it, but I had 6 months severance. And it was some good money, you know?
Yeah.
So what I did was I said, I'm not going back to New York.
You kind of fell in love with the place down
I'm
here.
staying here.
Yeah.
I like it. I went to a dinner party once, and a girl says to me, she says, you know, in this kind of town, one person could make a difference.
Very true.
Wow. True. It really is.
Yeah.
And I thought about that and never forgot it. I don't remember her, but that was the essence of it. Anyway, I walked into the Chef's Underground Cafe. It was a restaurant downtown. Jamaican guy, Neville Forsythe.
Okay.
He was the chef owner. Small kitchen, but this guy had credentials. And the chef was, I always called him chef, but he was Navy chef, Culinary Institute grad, worked in a lot of the places here, and it's his own place. It was a little fusion of Jamaican and, you know, fusion food. And I had a ball. It was just me and him in the kitchen. I'm getting a new education.
Did you have a love of cooking?
Well, I also, from growing up, it was always back
with your grandmothers and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, you know, you live in New York. What do you do? You get good food.
Yeah.
And it's like whatever you get, the delis, and there's so many kinds. There's a German deli, a Greek deli, Italian deli, a Jewish deli, right? So you have all these, but they didn't have it here.
No, and we still don't have much because you're still very unique.
Well, so what did Ross Perot say? He says, when a guy in Russia said to him, I got money to invest, I don't know what to do with it. Perot says, boy, I see a lot of bicycles. Anybody making bicycles? The guy says, no, because make bicycles. There was no deli, make a deli.
Yeah.
Shapiro's had closed.
And you had no experience running a deli or a restaurant?
No.
So you did, turnaround firm gets bought out. You've got a 6-month severance. You say, I want to stay. And you open the deli. Was it always on River Street?
Oh, yeah, the deli has been there 26 years. There was no street there.
Yeah.
When I opened up, this is after I worked a couple of years with Neville, so at least I got a really good feeling of food.
So you got some training there.
Yeah, not only that, but he taught me the essence of it.
Yeah.
Just being with him, there was an essence of cooking where, you got to use, your mind, your body, your spirit, all together.
My take is you're not a big recipe guy. You probably have recipes, but
I look at them,
but then it's all feel.
Yeah, exactly. And I always used to think, I said, I was listening to like Mario Batali.
Yeah.
And he's telling he's cooking over there, and he said, and you go to this place and you got to get that. I says, well, what the hell happens if you can't find those things? You live in a small town. So you have to be able to...
You adapt
to it, and that's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
Not this, use that if it's going to be similar. And it doesn't take much for me to watch something and recreate it.
Yeah. So you open it up in 98. How long does it take for it to catch hold?
Oh, geez. Well, it didn't help that there was no street there.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And the parking was all dirt with mud puddles.
And this is before Coolidge Park was built.
Yeah, there was no park.
Yeah. So you're just on the back end of an old manufacturing area.
Well, we were in the bottom of Agnew Hardware.
And of course, people are going to just find you naturally.
I had to take planks of wood and extend it from the entrance of the deli over these giant mud puddles.
That sounds like the Old West.
Well, it wasn't River Street.
Yeah.
See, all you had there was the Coast Guard Reserve Station and then nothing. And then they started to construct the park.
Were you the first eatery down there?
No, you had on the corner, there was one
Was that Fenn's?
Well, Fenn's was the other way. The mud pie.
The mud pie, I remember that.
Was there. And then there was the North Chat Lunch, a little shack that was there.
I forgot about that. Boy, that's been torn down for years now.
I think there was only a couple of places.
So you took a pretty big leap of faith that you would be able to do it.
When I went to get the beer license.
Yeah.
I get a message a few years ago. Well, we don't have you listed as River Street. All it says is Deli. I said, that's because I was waiting for you guys to name the street. I was waiting. There was no name on the street.
So it's just Deli.
Well, now, but it became, that's why I said I want to call it River Street Deli.
I love it.
But I couldn't call it that because I didn't know what they were going to call it.
What year did Coolidge Park open up? Do you remember? Was it like 2000?
Well, that was about this. It opened up 97 or 8.
Yeah.
Because I was there before the park opened.
Did you know the park was coming?
Yeah. Well, we didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Or didn't realize what the, magnitude it's become. With the Walnut Street Bridge and
all of that.
Yeah.
The carousel, the bridge.
Carousel wasn't there. I used to go down to St. Elmo and watch them make the horses.
Did you?
Yeah.
So have you taken your visual arts and incorporated that into the food you prepare?
I think what it is aesthetically you eat with your eyes.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that whoever's working for me understands that there has to be a certain plating of food, even though if it's a sandwich, sandwiches have to look really aesthetic. So I basically, to me, it's the same as doing art because you're going to get response right away. And there's that passion that you put into the food. How do you extend that to other people? Do the best you can. If they see it in you, they get it.
Well, and that's what I was going to bring up. Do you realize you're now a Chattanooga icon? I mean, everyone knows River Street Deli and everyone knows Bruce. And what I mean by that is to your artist aspect of it. When you go in to order, you've got the menu there. Yeah. But I would bet you that the majority of people order what you tell them is good that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting this. Why would you not get that?
That's the fun part of it. I kid with people.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the other one is I light up when little kids come in.
Yeah.
It's like they're about a year old and the mother or father's carrying them. And it's just when they turn animated.
Yeah.
Right? So I'll look at them and I'll say to the mother, you ever had a pickle? Because I noticed people don't like pickles here. I'm trying to make a change by giving little kids.
Start them young.
Because it's good for them.
Yeah.
And they love it. Parents crack up because the first bite and then they make that face like they got a lime, but they go back for more. Can't take the pickle out of their hands.
Yeah.
So I crack up. When I see that, it just lightens the day.
It's an experience to walk into your deli. And you're a big part of that.
I understand that. And I feel like, you remember the You Bet Your Life?
Mm-hmm.
Groucho Marx.
Was that Groucho show? Yeah.
And I used to watch that as a kid. And every time, people would come in, he would kibitz with them.
Yeah.
And basically, now my position at the deli is I deal with the people.
Yeah, you're an ambassador now.
And I love playing up this Groucho Marx thing. You say the secret word, it's got something to do with deli, you win a free dessert, that kind of thing. But I kid with people all the time. Now that I'm 75, first of all, nobody believes that. But now that I'm 75, a grumpy guy could come in. I look at him like, how old are you?
Yeah.
Look at me like, what are you kidding me? And I was, I'm 68. I said, well, I'm older than you. Respect your elders. And they're like, okay. And it's like when a guy that age is picky.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, if anything, try something new.
Kids can be picky. Well, and I do that. But they love the description of, because that's part of that passion. You make it from scratch. You really care about it. You know what's in it.
Yeah.
You're selling what you make. Right? So it's really easier sell because your passion is in it.
Yeah.
You know, we take like today, there's a chicken, oven fried chicken sandwich with candied pepper bacon, you know, and I give this really, you know, pretty good description, or I kind of play with them a little bit, just telling a story about the food.
Well, that's your first stop when you walk in, is to go to your
I'm right
station.
to the back, and it's all planned out. I want you to walk through the deli.
Yeah.
I want you to come to the back because I want you to go in there and I want you to smell the aroma of deli. Well, and the deli is very eclectic because it's got Italian, it's got Greek, it's got Middle Eastern, it's got Jewish, it's got all those kind of foods.
Yeah, you're covering them all. The other thing that I think makes it unique is your artwork.
Well, what I used to do is give local artists an opportunity, and I would take nothing from it. You know, put stuff up, and if you sell it, it's all yours. I get it, you know, from being an artist. But they're very tough to coordinate.
Yeah.
You need to take your art down, have the other one put up, and sometimes you'd have to wait too long, and it's like, so I got fed up with that. Because to me, there's no excuse. If you're an artist, it doesn't matter. You still have to adhere to, which I'll tell you what I did in school. I was teaching at UTC in the graphic department.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk in, give an assignment, and half the people, 3/4 of people didn't have it done. Or the excuses rained down. Well, the computer wasn't working, and this is not. I said, really? I pull out this book, and it's a pricing and ethics guide to graphic design. And I list down a list. And I says to them, look, this is the job that you've accepted. If you don't come in on time, I'm going to have 2 or 3 companies and an author waiting at a table in some bookstore waiting to sign books, and it ain't going to be ready because you didn't have the assignment on time.
Mm-hmm.
You need to wake up to that, right?
Be accountable.
Be accountable. Have the responsibility of doing what you've been assigned to do. So I wrote down on one side how much money they can get from a particular job in Chattanooga. And the other one was, I'd say to them, okay, you pay rent, you eat, you got a phone, you got gas you need. I'm writing all of these things down that they could possibly spend, you know, in the course of a month. You got this, you got that, you got this, you got that. So anyway, the cost of doing the job, they would have received $3,500. That's the way we figured it then.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started to figure out their expenses. Well, it came out to about $3,000. And they were all excited. I said, yeah, that's good, but you forgot your uncle. What do you mean, my uncle?
Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam, man. You know, It's like, so if you're working and complaining now to get something done, you ain't going to make enough money if you're doing it, you know, lax. You say to somebody, you're going to have it, get it done.
Yeah.
Your machine don't work, use something else.
Have a sense of urgency.
And then get the job done and come in there on time.
Yeah.
Being an artist ain't an excuse.
It's a great lesson.
Well, and that's when I was at UTC.
Yeah. I do have one last question for you. But before I get to that, I want to remind our listeners who makes all this possible. It's a big thank you to the Tennessee Valley Authority for sponsoring My Morning Cup. Follow TVA on social media to learn more about its multifaceted mission of service, and visit TVA.com/do good here to explore exciting TVA career opportunities. Bruce, you've led a pretty fascinating life growing up in
over yet.
New York. No, and you got a lot more to go because you don't look 75. You don't act 75. You got a lot ahead of you. But think back to your 25-year-old self. What would you tell that 25-year-old Bruce Weiss is important for a happy life?
listen to yourself. Really listen to yourself. Make the decisions that, going to be long-term, or if they're not long-term, make the decisions by listening to yourself. I don't care. A counselor is not you. Everybody is different. You got to really focus on yourself.
So would it be safe to say, trust that gut instinct you got inside you?
I think it's real important.
Yeah.
It's okay to question everything too. But certainly you need to trust your instinct.
And in trusting the instinct, when you decided that, I'm going to stay here in Chattanooga and open a deli, was that inside voice?
I stayed in Chattanooga. I didn't know where I was at. That's why I started working at the Underground Cafe. I got into the food business.
Yeah.
I just needed something to do.
Yeah. And you found a passion.
Well, it was funny, it's like he wouldn't give me a paycheck. He would throw me a little money. I didn't really need the money. I was okay. I mean, I paid later for that, but what my reward was, I got a culinary education.
Yeah.
One-on-one with a top chef. And this reminds me of The Bear. Have you seen Bear?
I've seen a couple episodes. Yeah.
It's great. I couldn't watch it when I got home from work.
Oh, I bet.
It was like I was back at work.
Well, as someone who's enjoyed your deli and getting to know you, thank you so much for coming in and talking about
I would have brought you something. I didn't know.
Oh, well, you've got your My Morning Cup.
Yeah, I will be drinking it. I will keep this at the deli. And
prominently displayed.
I will. Actually, I may not even drink from it. I'll keep it at the counter where everybody comes.
I would love
And you'll get some good ad.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Oh, good.
Well, thanks for doing this.
My pleasure.
It's great to see you.
Same here.
Thanks for listening to My Morning Cup, a podcast by Costa Media Advisors. If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend. I release a new episode each week, so be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you listen to podcasts.